I want to take a closer look at communication skills through our class lens, right? Because all of you are Hope Toledo participants, you're all, I believe, at least familiar with class. I have the observation sheet here. Does this look familiar, right? So what I really want to look at specifically, and I'll include this in the handouts, but are these pieces right here. Okay, the last three, and they're the tough ones-ish. Concept development, quality of feedback, and language modeling. And just so you know, the form that I have in front of me right here, the observation sheet, is the score sheet for preschool. I am not trained in the infant and toddler version of this, but I think you can make some easy inferences as to the pieces of this that obviously it all speaks to preschool, but it also very much speaks to infants and toddlers, okay? So indulge me at looking at this through the class lens, and I guess what it is using those pieces, those different criteria here to really define what it is we're striving to do with communication with young children, okay? All right, so looking at skill level 1, right? So skill level 1, we're talking about that they attend to language, they can direct to a speaking person, back and forth utterances, okay, right? And can connect words to objects. For the most part, we're talking about, kids like birth to, 18 months, somewhere in there. And so what we need to think about from the class perspective is that there are several pieces that we can be very actively doing that are precursors to actual dialogue. So even the very basic that whenever we are providing care to an infant, we're talking to them about what we're doing. Right? So if you're changing a diaper, you're literally talking them through that. I've got to get these shoes off so that we can change your diaper so I can get your pants off. Some of those different things, right? You're talking them through it. You are using what class labels as self-talk. Self-talk is where maybe you are walking across the room to get a bottle for a child or to pick something up that is spilled. Well, here I go. I'm going to walk across the room and I need to clean that up because that's really made a mess. And just by narrating your actions, you're helping the child develop internal dialogue, internal interest, internal desire for language. And so when you look at it in those ways, it's very, very definitely relevant to the class definition of self-talk. You're providing information. You're looking at, you're encouraging them. You're being affirming. Wow, I see that you've pulled up on that. Your legs must be getting strong. Different things like that where you're pointing out what the child did and giving language to it, right? Use advanced language. Talk to others in the same way you have always spoken. Use vocabulary that is rich and descriptive, right? Think about squeaky toy. We're gonna put that away for right now, okay? Yeah. Okay, so think about how you communicate to those around you and how you communicate to the child. And at this stage, in skill level 1, we're just really wanting to model the effective use of communication and to give the children that rich environment to soak it up in. Okay, so the other piece that will happen that is for sure part of class is all about the back and forth exchanges in a conversation, right? That there are you say something, they say something, you say something, they say, right? That kind of thing over and over, as opposed to what does happen frequently. How is your mac and cheese? Good, right? And then you move to the next child because there's a lot of kids in the room, right? So, but really looking at taking that moment for that several back and forth exchange, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, so that the child understands that concept of listen and respond and listen and respond, right? And it's still very early for skill level 1, but as it progresses. Okay, so the things that we're looking for in skill level 1 from class are back and forth utterances, self-talk, connecting it to real world things, providing information, encouragement and affirmation, and using advanced language. Okay, so then in skill level 2, we'll do all those things as well. Okay, we'll keep going. We'll use all of those pieces. But then we're also going to get where we are integrating language into action. All right. Children at this stage are able to maybe grab something that you've identified, or you are talking about their shoes, and so they get up and go and get their shoes and bring them over to you. You are helping them to label their own actions, right? They're not ready to do that in a bunch of words yet, but you are doing it. Just like you did self-talk for yourself. Hey, I see you are walking across the room. What are you getting there? Oh, you got your shoes. We were talking about shoes, weren't we? Things like that, where you're modeling having conversation, right? And then the other piece is this is really the time where repetition just really kicks in, and their love for doing the same thing over and over and over, which to us seems crazy at times, but it is truthfully the way that children play their way into knowledge, right? That's essentially what play is doing things over and over because you enjoy it, and continuing to try and improve something, typically in play, right? The other thing is that you will start extending what children say. That's a big piece in class. In where is it? Okay, it's Oh, okay, I was thinking I made that one up. No, that's under language modeling, sorry, with repetition and extension. Child comes to you with their shoe. My shoe. That is your shoe. Talk about the color of the shoe, or it's a sandal, or do you like these shoes? I have shoes too. These are my shoes, right? Take that my shoe initiative and bring it into more dialogue. Skill level 2. All right, so now for skills levels 3, 4, and 5, because this class observation sheet is relating specifically to pre-K, all of them under concept development, quality of feedback, and language modeling apply. So for the next 3, I'm just going to maybe give a little bit of difference of what each of them is and how we can support it. So in skill level 3, we're looking for frequent conversation. We are really looking at building not only their external dialogue where they're communicating with us, but their own internal dialogue where they are processing, right? It's not uncommon at all for kids in this stage to walk around using the self-talk that we've been modeling, and where they talk out their actions. Well, I'm going to head over here and get myself a spoon. They're just simply following up with what we've done. They will prune that away over the next couple of skill levels, but it is a fantastic way for them to develop language, express, and what eventually will happen is that will become their internal dialogue as they get into skill level 5. They will do less of that and have more just thoughts going through their heads instead of speaking them. So, our role in this one is the frequent conversations with the feedback loops, right? We're not really worried about going deep here. The more important thing is the I speak, you speak, I speak in a mostly on target way, right? At this age, their thoughts can, a squirrel moment, right? And all of a sudden they're talking about something else. That's still very common in skill level 3. But for the most part, that they are able to follow brief back and forth exchanges, staying on topic. Okay. So that is how we support that. That is how we support good dialogue in skill level 3. So in skill level 4, you're looking at a new level of purpose in using language. A child will be actively puzzling something out, trying to figure something out and be talking their way through it, right? They will come to you with a genuine question that they will wait to hear your answer, right? They're processing this, can't figure it out. They're coming to you. This is where they're at. So how do we support that? Through the class lens, of course, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's just going to continue to grow. But at this point, we're going to be really, really looking at how to prompt thought processes, right? I'm going to care as the caregiver much less about having the right answer for this child than to be participating in the dialogue about whatever it is that he or she's interested in. Does that make sense? I'm going to do a lot of, well, what do you think about that? Why do you think that happened? Right? Just tell me more. I'm not sure I understand. Tell me more. Tell me more, right? That's a big phrase for this one, where you're just diving into what they're saying and repeating back to them, right? Using that repetition skill that we've already been using from level 2, where we are stating what they say to us, showing our interest, even if it's some Pokemon, something or other, right? But showing our interest and engaging and asking more questions and trying to get that deep thought process. That is the way that we can really dig into communication at that level. Now, obviously, kids that are communicating at a skill level 4 in our programs are pretty much on target. So, no, we don't have grave concerns over them, but just in general, in supporting their language needs, that's where that would be, okay? And then again, skill level 5, that would only be a few of our kids, but if you're looking at that through the class lens, what we're really looking at is that they're initiating now process or imaginative dialogue, right? They might walk up to a peer and, ask for help. They might walk up to a peer and just start into some fanciful story. I mean, how many times have we heard this? I'll be the mom and you be the baby. And then they jump right into a dramatic play scenario where that mom child is doing quite a lot of talking, right? Initiating imaginative dialogue. There's one piece to think about. Sometimes, a child comes up and is telling you about their dog. You knowing fully well they do not have a dog. They haven't never had a dog. They're not getting a dog. But this child talks about their dog. The dog has a name. There's stories about the dog. And there's a time and place for rich, imaginative conversation. When we're asking about some factual situation, yes, we want the child to tell the truth. But the child, when they're, say, elaborating about, oh, I have a dog, they're pretending they have a dog so that they can participate in some sort of conversation, right? They are figuring out language. They want to keep talking to you, even if they've run out of things to say. I don't view that as lying. I don't view that as anything other than storytelling. And especially when you're looking at skill level 5, they know the difference too. You can see it in a little twinkle in their eye. And then a lot of times you can connect on that level too. Is that a story you're telling me? Is that what you hope will happen one day? You know, things like that, that it's saying those things out loud so they know it is okay. It is okay to have the imagination and to dream and think and all of that they're doing. So why does any of this matter? Well, the biggest foundation for this experience is children in our care being supported fully in developing full communication skills, right? I want them to have a great vocabulary. I want them to eventually, be able to read and all those things. But our specific focus is doing what we can to support, to scaffold, to encourage the development of communication skills. And class really does do a good job of breaking it down. So when I was walking through skill levels 1 and 2, I was referring to them as what the common age group would be as far as infants or toddlers. But the reality is, in our preschool classrooms, we also have children who are at a skill level 1 or skill level 2. And they are not able yet, right, to have dialogues at the typical levels that we have in preschool. So this is where it becomes extremely important that our preschool teachers know what skill level 1 and skill level 2 look like and the things that we need to do, right? So let's say you have a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old at skill level 1. They are not yet using words or are using very few, but they do attend to you. The same things that we would do for infants, we need to do for this, let's say 4-year-old, right? We are going to self-talk so they hear us using clear language and that they start to understand that that's also what happens, that people have internal dialogue. We're going to provide all kinds of information. We're going to be very encouraging and affirming for when the child does use language. And we're going to continue to use advanced language, although we will define it every now and again, so that if we do use a word, we're doing a sink or float experience, maybe we give definition to the sink or the float so that the children have the language for that. But we're going to model all those things just as we would if this child were an infant, right? We're going to have back and forth exchanges in the sense of them looking at us or providing us with something. They're not with words yet, right? That's the child that we're going to sit next to at lunch. That's the child when we can't sit next to them at lunch, we're going to have the chattiest kid in the room sit next to them. We're going to try to find ways to connect that child into the class, into the peers, because when someone at 4 years old isn't talking, children start to shy away from initiating conversation with that child. So when a child would say to you, well, he doesn't talk to me, our answer is, well, not yet. We need to talk to him. When you're looking at a situation like that, where a child is 4 years old and not using communication, you're using all your pieces and parts to try to get them interested. You are joining them in play. and talking about what they're doing. Maybe you're planning something creative at the art table or the sensory table. I think is a fantastic place for conversation, where you can talk your way through, again, self-talk. Oh, I see, we're measuring some stuff out. What do you have there? Oh, I have this scoop. Is your scoop bigger or smaller? I think it's smaller, isn't it? It's just using rich language. Okay, so that is if a child is at a skill level 1. If they're at a skill level 2, which is what I feel is the case for a lot of our kiddos, the 3s and 4s, is they're just coming in sort of that year behind, where they attend to language, they look at you, they may even have a few words, or they might even have a few phrases that are either popular home language or things from TV, right? You're going to do all the same things that we did in skill level 1. And then you're just going to just kind of take it to that next level, right? So in skill level 2, they are starting to use a couple of words, and they're starting to understand simple requests. What that means is play is our best vehicle, and play with peers at that is our best vehicle to help them develop dialogue. Getting engaged in their play, giving words for what they are doing. Maybe joining in dramatic play when the child is over there and everybody else is talking and they're just getting a word or two out. Making space in that group so the child can speak. Hey, I hear Charlie Charlie's trying to tell us something. Just a minute, right? Kind of building some of that in the group. Looking at, again, this is the child you sit next to at lunch. This is the child who is your assistant. All of these things, trying to get communication from them. We're giving these kids the opportunity to use visual cues as well. If they maybe are making choices to go to a center, we have pictures. They can go up and point to it, and we encourage them to say, I'm going to the block center. Right? Not just, but eventually, I'm going to the block center. A sentence. Right? That's what we're modeling. I see you're pointing at the block center. You would say, I'm going to the block center, and letting go. All right. So does that make sense? I really, there's a lot of value in this section of class. We frequently, as early childhood educators, we talk to our children. We talk all day long. They talk all day long. But this really has honed my skills in focusing on what that conversation is, taking it to that next level, looking for the kids. Some of them are just, we need to do the back and forth, the back and forth, the back and forth. Some of them are starting to get, right? They're starting to look at something they don't understand or are intrigued by, and they're having language in their own brain about it, right? You start to see these pieces develop. And by us asking how questions, why questions, and giving them that chance to tell us, right or wrong, what it is, that is like the heavy lifting of the brain. That is the cardio of cardio for the brain. That is it. That is the big stuff. That is what we're going for, right? That is the end goal. We want to see our children be able to use language in these ways. So just kind of in wrapping this portion up, when you think about your class observations and you get feedback, or you ever look at those last 3 pieces, concept development, quality of feedback, and language modeling, even if you just look at those 3 things, right? The concept development piece, quality of feedback, and language modeling. Those would be great on the lesson plan too somewhere, wouldn't they? I'm not saying you need to do that, but that's just my thought. It's like, how am I actually doing that this week or even this month? But so I hope that this helps to really hone in on the exact steps to take to support a child in communication, right? In the dialogue portion of all of this.